The regular season is coming to a close. A lot of teams are thinking about how they can potentially win the national championship, but some teams have to worry about actually making the tournament first. Today we will talk about which teams are in the bubble, which means they have to finish the regular season strong if they want an at-large bid to get into the tournament. I'll focus on the major Power 5 conferences today. The Pac-12 is by far the deepest conference. In terms of overall depth, there's definitely a gap between them and everyone else. The net rankings and AP polls support this as well. Because of that, I think teams in the Pac-12 won't need as good of a conference record as other teams. There's 3 teams that are on the bubble: Cal, Arizona, and Washington State. However, Cal Berkeley is the only team with a favorable situation. Their next 4 are Oregon State, Oregon, Arizona State, and Arizona. If they lose against Oregon State but win against the other 3, I think they're in. The Arizona game in particular is interesting because Arizona badly needs to win that game, so Cal is going to have to bring their A game, because if Cal loses, it's over. Arizona's tournament chances are not the greatest. Their next 4 are Stanford, California, USC, and UCLA. They are below 500 in their conference, but if they win 2 out of the 4, they would break even. They have to pull off a major upset against one of the best teams in the country. I don't like those chances. Washington State is also a long shot. After Oregon State, their next 3 games are on the road against Oregon, Utah, and Colorado. They could very easily lose 3 out of 4 of these games. They do have a net ranking of 25, but Oregon last year had the same net ranking and didn't make the tournament because their net did not reflect their performance at all. I think Washington State will suffer the same fate. I'll move on to the SEC, which I definitely think is the most intriguing. One thing that surprised me is how many people think Tennessee is in danger of missing the tournament. They are 3rd in the SEC and played one of the hardest non-conference schedules in the entire country. Not to mention most of the games they lost were without Ricky Jackson. There's no way the committee punishes them for that. I think the only way they have a shot at missing the tournament is if they lose to Texas A&M and lose in the first round in the SEC tournament. Leaving a team out of the tournament because they took an extremely tough non-conference schedule would be a very bad precedent. I don't think they are in any danger whatsoever. Bama, Ole Miss, and Mississippi State should be safe. The only way I think they wouldn't is if they lose every single game left on their schedule. But which SEC teams are at risk of missing the tournament? Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, and Auburn are all on the bubble. What's very interesting about this is that all these teams play against each other, which means some teams are definitely going to be left out the tournament. The head-to-heads will almost certainly decide who gets at an at-large bid and who won't. Let's look at some must-wins coming up. Arkansas plays Texas A&M this Thursday. I can't see the loser of this game making the tournament. This Sunday is the most important week for SEC teams on the bubble. Texas A&M plays Auburn. Vanderbilt plays Arkansas. Once again, I don't see the loser making the tournament, but whoever wins both the game on Thursday and Sunday will be in great shape to make the tournament. All the bubble SEC teams can only really afford to lose to Tennessee, LSU, and South Carolina, because those would be understandable losses. But when you are currently below 500 in conference play, you can't be dropping multiple games and expect to get in. The ACC is a lot less dramatic. I think the only teams truly on the bubble are Duke and Miami. Georgia Tech's bubble chances went out the window when they lost to NC State in overtime. Duke does have the advantage of having a much harder non-conference schedule than Miami, which is a huge factor in them having the 21st highest net ranking in the country. Now you're probably thinking, how could a team that high in net ranking possibly miss the tournament? It's because their next 4 games are absolutely brutal. They play Syracuse, NC State, Virginia, and North Carolina. I think they only need to win 1 out of these 4, but that will be difficult outside of Virginia. And even still, Virginia is better than their record. Miami only has 6 wins in the conference right now and only 45 in net ranking, so they will have to do a bit more than Duke, but their last 4 games are way easier. They play Virginia, Clemson, Pittsburgh, and Virginia Tech. If they win 3 out of 4, which will not be very hard to do, that would make them 8-8 in the conference. That will be a good enough record because of how deep the ACC is. Let's move on to the Big Ten. Unlike the Pac-12 and ACC, the Big Ten is not very deep, so I think it will take more for them to get in the tournament, especially considering these teams don't have the greatest non-conference schedules. I think Nebraska is pretty safe to make the tournament after they upset Iowa. Michigan State's last 3 games are easy, so they should be safe. Michigan, Maryland, Penn State, and Illinois are all on the bubble. Illinois is a team I think didn't have any shot at making the tournament, but they blew out Indiana on national television. If you want to save your tournament chances, this is the way to do it. Their last 3 games are Iowa, Michigan State, and Nebraska. I think if they upset Iowa, that will be enough. But that's asking a lot. Otherwise, they'll have to beat Michigan and Michigan State. And on top of that, win a couple of games in the conference tournament. I think Maryland and Penn State are in the same position. I can't see them making the tournament unless they win out in the regular season, which means they have to go through Ohio State. Maryland was very unimpressive in non-conference play, and Penn State is on a nasty losing streak. They can't afford to lose any more games. I can't see Michigan getting in the tournament without upsetting Ohio State again. They are only 48 in net ranking. They only played 2 Power 5 teams in the non-conference schedule and lost both of those games. That leaves us with the Big 12. One thing you'll notice immediately when you look at the standings is that there are 3 tiers. The top 4 teams are ranked in the AP poll and are far ahead everyone else in the conference standings. The second tier is teams that will probably get in the tournament but will have a bad seed. Everyone else's season is pretty much over. There's no way a team with less than a 40% win percentage can expect to be in the tournament. Iowa State is a team that will get a lot of leeway despite their record because they have upset multiple ranked teams this year. They have more quality wins than anyone else with a similar record. Their next 4 games are easy except for Kansas State, who they have proven they can beat. I think as long as they don't choke any of the games they are supposed to win, they'll be fine. Baylor has been living off their Utah and Texas victory all season. Outside of that, they haven't done much. But I think the only way they can miss the tournament is if they lose 3 straight. Even then, I think they would be let in with a low seed. Kansas, on the other hand, might be in some trouble. Their last 3 regular season games are Kansas State, UCF, and Oklahoma. I think to have a real shot, they have to win 2 out of the next 3 games, or win multiple games in the Big 12 conference tournament. It's possible, but not probable. That's it for this video. There's a lot of great games today and this Sunday. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.